today we have, so I don't mess up his name. Could you please pronounce it, Mister?
Yeah, my name is Kiese Layman.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Key essay.
That's
Get it
it.
right. Because I was messing you up for a while, calling you Kisei and a bit of
That's
everything
it
else.
though, but that's it too though. That's my granny. That's what she called me.
Really? Because we got these names like that. I'm
Yeah,
Mika.
yeah. My grandma ain't never pronounced my name right in my whole life. Not one time. Not one time. She ain't spelled this shit right on the cards. It always be weird, but like that's how it's supposed to be.
So yeah, when you talk about that and you talk about the black women that you know and you love in your family, is really rich history because they had different life experience than we do.
Right.
And when we talk about vote like a black woman, what particularly comes to mind? Because I know I think about uh, my lineage. What about you? How do you see that?
Yeah, I think about my grandmother who refused to move up to Gary or Detroit or Chicago. She stayed in Scott County, Mississippi when everybody else left. And, she stayed and she worked the fields and she worked in white folks' homes and eventually she worked in chicken plants. But, she couldn't vote until she was 30 something. And she had children who saw her be politically engaged in the church, but not able to actually vote. And one of those children was my mother, who became a political scientist, partially because she saw my grandmama toil politically. And also, like, she saw how my grandmama valued the vote. My grandmama was always talking about candidates. And I think
Yeah.
that really sprinkled into my mama, who became a political scientist. And then, because I was an only child, I read a lot and listened to her. So I just think like that literally is our lineage. But it starts not even with the vote. It starts with my grandmama deciding she wasn't gonna leave. And then realizing one of the burdens of not leaving is that, our state and black people and both, particularly black women, they didn't align, right? So she was one of those people who had to do the poll taxes. She had to go in there and try to, recite Mississippi history that nobody knew. So it meant a lot for her. But again, what I wanted to also say is she also taught us that the vote was just part of the strategy toward liberation. Like the vote and liberation weren't the same thing, but it was a part of our strategy. And my mama learned that from her. My mama passed that on to me, and I try to embody that in my work and in my life. So
I think it's really important what you said because we forget that we're not that far generation wise. Like somebody in your family, if you're African American, has paid some poll taxes and done some things.
yes, indeed.
So
Yes,
it's not just in the history book. Like that history lives on in us.
right. And a lot of us have these very intimate relationships with our grandparents, for lots of different reasons. So I remember, when my mama sometimes would send me to live with my grandmama, my grandmama would get Sunday school clean to go to vote. Part of
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
because she thought if she looked anything less, they would come up with some reason for her not to be able to vote. So it's
Mm.
sad, but it's also just like the memories are so clear. And that's the abundant part. But the sadness is that the best of Mississippi had to, there are all these conditions that they could vote. You had to dress really clean. You couldn't step out of line. You couldn't look some certain people in the eye. This is after it was already legal. So that's our lineage. You know what I'm saying? So we got to accept it, and again, for me, it means that voting is one way that we get closer to liberation and freeing the land that a lot of our grandparents worked. So,
Yeah, when you look at the whole thing, like when my grandparents, my grandfather couldn't read or write,
right,
so my last name is misspelled from my cousin's last name because it's what whoever was recording our birth, that's how they spelled it. That's what
right,
we stuck with. So I think it's also just a really shifting in education, considering you being a professor and what all you've done in the lives that you've really been able to pour into. What would you say is a lesson that you would want people to think about this election? I know you touched on it a bit, but like moving forward and being, with your words, we've talked before, and I talked about how your words carry weight. Like,
right.
which words would you want people to think about? Which words do you want folks to take into the voting booth?
Share. That's the primary word. Like when I think about the lineage and I think about my grandmom, I think about someone who showed me how to share. Meaning that if I have something, it necessarily belongs to the community that made me. You know what I'm trying to say? So like sharing is a way. I think when you get in that voting booth, what I'm trying to do, because I don't think these candidates necessarily have love for us the way I would want them to, but I'm asking who is going to be the best at sharing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's who usually I'm going to support. And then when I get about that voting booth, I got to go about living that word. I can't be like, I'm gonna vote for the person who shares and then in my real life not do it. So it's just it's just like a familial ethic that we have. Like if we have, you have. If you have, maybe you want to share with me. You know what I mean? But that's all from my granny, and that's all from her. That's her. Like she, you know, she's a person. You come to her house and you know you need something, she gonna make sure you know you gonna leave with it. Now, if you do her dirty, she gonna get you. You know, but if you come and insert and in need of something and we have it, I was just always taught we supposed to give. And I think voting also is just one way you can give to yourself, but also to people around you, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's very true. You had mentioned before something about your Aunt Sue.
Yeah, my Aunt Sue is a preacher in Jackson. And you know, it's so interesting. Like she grew up, it's incredible, still the best singer that I've ever heard live. She's incredible. But you know the way gender roles and stuff work for black women, she couldn't, if she was a man, she would have been running the church by the time she was 17 because she was that
Mm,
gifted. You know what I'm saying? But
mm,
in the absence of that, you know, she could sing and all of that. So you know, like maybe a decade or so ago, she actually like got her own church. And one of the things that she does is that she preaches and teaches a lot of like formerly incarcerated people.
mm.
So I just think sometimes when we start thinking about who can vote and who can't vote, I think about my Aunt Sue, who was doing one of these people who's trying to get like voting rights reinstilled into people who are formerly incarcerated, but also every day trying to teach and learn with them to let them know that even though the state might say you can't vote, you know, you still can learn and you still can like, you know, love. So that's one of the things that again she learned from my grandmama. You know, my grandmama is the root of all of this stuff for us.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So, I know you're a busy man. I just wanted to thank you so much for taking time out to support this project and the light and all you are for the community, especially in Mississippi. Do you want to leave us with any parting words, or you think you left it all on the table?
Hey, I'm just appreciative to be in the presence of the art god, fam. And I
Oh,
can't wait till we
Lord.
all get together and create something. That's my dream and my hope. And that's what they never wanted. But it's too
Right?
late. It's too late.
I'm looking forward to that too. You know, we got some stuff we talked about before we got on. Let's link up on that.
Yes,
But
sir. Yes, indeed.
how can people keep up with you? How can they find out more about what you got going on?
Yeah, I'm trying to hide, but if you want, I'm on Twitter. My name KSA Layman. Instagram, I think it's the same thing. But mainly those are the two play. I have a website. My name KSALayman.com, KIESELAYMON, and I'm writing and some everywhere. So you know, you use them Googles if you want to, if you need to find me.
Well, otherwise, you hide, you
I'm
incognito.
trying to. I got to do this work. I got to get these books done in the next few months, so I got to go into hiding in a little bit.
All right, well, good. Well, thank you, man, for your time, and we're gonna log off.
Thank you so much, Talmika.